Ani, bonsoir and good evening, and welcome to our regular council meeting for November already. As I normally do, the first meeting is chaired by our deputy mayor, so I'll turn it over to Renee.
Thank you, Mayor Pajot. I would first like to begin the meeting by acknowledging that we are in the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples in the Robinson-Huron Treaty area and wish to recognize the neighboring community of Doki's First Nation. While we meet today, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nation people that call this land home. And with that, I will need a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the agenda. Councillor Dave and Councillor Willie.
Moved and seconded, be resolved that the agenda be adopted as presented.
All those in favor? Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Being none, we'll continue on to section 5, delegations, 5.1. We have a request for financial contribution to Good Food Markets by Public Health Sudbury and Districts and Better Beginnings, Better Futures. And I believe the ladies are gonna do a presentation for us.
Hello, bonjour. My name is Angèle Young, and I am with Better Beginnings, Better Futures. My role at Better Beginnings, Better Futures is mainly student nutrition programs across the Sudbury-Manitoulin district. But considering that so much food gets bought through that process, I also lead the Good Food Project. And one of the strategies that we use through the Good Food Project is the Good Food Market, which this year is new to Noelville this year. So the Good Food Market is a mobile market. We visit multiple locations. So in the summertime, we will visit 13 locations. In the past, when we first started, it was 2 locations. Every year, through community rallying for more, we've been able to add locations and move on. And this year, there were folks from this community who were strong promoters of the Noelville area because we were already in Albin, but wanted something also in this area. So we are in Albin and Noelville now. And that was extremely positive for the community. The usage of those 2 markets, I will say, are the highest usage of all of the markets that we have. So we manage the funds and the staffing, and then we also work with the Good Food Market Advisory Committee. And when we do that, we meet and we discuss locations, the budgets. We have been struggling financially for several years, but continue to try to be very innovative to continue to offer programming. So and our advisory committee consists of public health representatives from various communities and also other health organizations such as UNIVI, such as the Manitoulin Services Board, etc. So basically what our goal is to offer fruits and vegetables to get access to residents who may be isolated or may be experiencing economic difficulties. And we do that by bringing the food to them. We ask for funding to cover the cost of the trucking and the staffing to get the food to them so that when they're accessing our food, they're accessing at wholesale or retail prices. That would be similar to what they would do if they drove themselves all the way into the main center. And so they're having affordable produce, which would increase their consumption, ultimately increasing their overall health. Next slide. Sorry. Yeah, so why would we invest in the mobile market? Well, of course, there's community building. When we talk about when you see the market, it's not just people going to shop, actually. Neighbors are buying for neighbors. We especially see some groups purchasing for the local residents who may be seniors who may no longer be driving. We also know that sometimes quality in the smaller stores, they do what they can, but quality produce goes bad really fast and it is very, very sensitive. So to have better quality foods, to keep the costs down, understanding that there may be some barriers to buying produce when it comes to affordability, especially in the ever rising costs of food. We also like to remove the barriers, which would be distance and economical disadvantages, and also perhaps transportation, whereas some folks may not have access to busing to get to a grocery store or people to drive them back and forth. And overall, the health promotion activities of the program, increasing fruit and vegetables, has been proven over and over that it decreases many health factors that could affect someone's longevity. So a little bit about the history. So the Good Food Project started in 2009 with the Good Food Box, and the Good Food Box was funded by United Way. It was run by volunteers, and many groups throughout the district would basically sell the Good Food boxes, and then the boxes were filled and brought out. The boxes were the exact same things. So if a person purchased a box, they would get what they get. So they may not have liked everything in the box. The Healthy Community Challenge was a provincial initiative from the city, which started the funds, and we thought that maybe bringing the food as a mobile market to communities and having people have choice to choose what they wish, and having multiple communities would be a great idea. Well, the results were outstanding and the communities rallied to keep it going. United Way continued to fund until about 5 or 6 years ago, when they could no longer fund the Good Food Project and the Good Food Box program, where Public Health picked it up for summer programming. Manitoulin Services Board also helped with the trucking for the outside centers such as Marks Day, Albin, Onaping. So to get the trucks out of the city core of Sudbury and out to the communities such as this one, Manitoulin Service District Board were helping with some of the costs for that, which they continue to provide support when we are in need. And those funding sources are not annualized. They're when we ask year to year, and more. Public Health has been super supportive. However, it is not in their general role to provide funding for programming. So they're desperately looking for us to find other ways to fund our systems. We are in the process of asking the provincial government for some funding, but along with that, they are looking for support from the communities themselves. So Albin was a choice that was added in 2018. There was a lot of back and forth because it's a good hour to get there, as you know. And in 2024, Noelville was also added. It was like, well, since you're driving from Albin through to get to Marks Day, please stop at Noelville, and we also stop in St. Charles. So the customers have expressed that without the market, they would eat fewer fruits and vegetables, and I have received calls that none at all. Last year, when the market ended in Levack area, Onaping, I did receive a phone call that from a resident that said that's the only way that they get their fruit and vegetables. So that because they purchase shelf-stable foods, so fresh fruit and vegetables, the only time they get it is when we come with the market. And in that community, it's only in the summer. So it makes for a very long winter. So our request for funding, we are requesting funding to all the municipalities across where we travel. We try to keep our trucks moving. Right now, our trucks stop about an hour and a half per community. We get the word out through partners within the community. And so we are trying to, when multiple communities come together and help fund, it keeps the cost down. Because just driving to one place and driving back is you know, with the loading of the vehicles and the kilometers, it makes more sense to have routes that have multiple stops along the way and having community support along the way as well. This is where the Good Food Market Advisory Committee was asking communities to raise funds locally. We spent a lot of time wondering, well, maybe we should have a membership. Maybe we should tack it on, but then it goes against what we originally thought of, or maybe we should say a delivery fee for every sale. But then that's the fees landing on the people. And the idea is for the people to be able to access affordable food. We're really trying to find ways to be able to get this food, this very healthy food, in a positive manner to people where they would feel that there's no barriers for them to access it. So the contributions that we would be asking for from this community directly affect this community. Basically, it would cover the time and effort to get to the community. The food is price pointed where there is basically no there is a small upcharge which covers some of the waste. Like, so something like strawberries do not like always last if we don't sell them all out for the following week, etc. Even in shipping, when we get our cases, there's often some bruised items that are not ready for sale. So that's where the little upcharge comes, and the rest would go directly to get the food to the community. So it's the daily day, the transportation, the shopping, and the food waste. Participants avoid high costs for produce. The travel, we consider the environmental factors around community members traveling long distances to get to grocery stores. And if every community member does that individually, the environmental impact can be substantial. Locally, we find that in all of the communities that we are participating, the local support has been astounding. I would like to thank you very much for your time. I would like to take this opportunity to open questions. I am bilingual. I can answer in both French and English. If you have any further questions about the market and how we operate and when and why we stop and why we start, I would definitely can answer those.
Thank you, Angel. Does anybody have any questions for Angel? Giselle, go ahead.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm a big supporter of it, as you know. We also use now the food market for our clients at the food bank. So we've managed to figure out a gift certificate system where our clients can now purchase fresh fruit and vegetables from the truck instead of going to Foodland or Clover or whatever they're called now, because the quality is better and it's a lot cheaper. And the feedback from the clients has been that, for $30, they get 3 bags full of fruits and vegetables. So it's pretty good. So we're quite happy. Should give you a heads up. For funding, we're entering into our budget process. So your timing's perfect.
Excellent.
To ask for that, but it would be for, for consideration for next year's budget.
Yes.
And then thirdly, we're meeting with the new public health director next week, I think it is. And one of the reasons we're going to be bringing up is why they are not funding this fully, because I believe strongly that that's part of their mandate to make sure that people have access to good food and healthy foods. And in order for them to do that, they need to support it. We're also going to be meeting with DSAB, and the same question is going to be asked of them too. So we'll try to support you through the other avenues, which I think are probably more appropriate for funding, long-term funding,
Mhm.
than trying to get it out of budgets from each municipality.
Mhm.
So,
Yes, well, thank you for that. And something that was not in the presentation is exactly that, those vouchers. And I would love to take a second just to hit on that a little bit more. So part of the Good Food Box, that reason that we don't talk too much about the Good Food Box right now, again, is because it is a set box. We do still make set boxes every month, where but we don't do them like we used to, where people buy boxes and give money, and then so what they do is it's more agencies that buy boxes for their clients to be able to just make sure that they're getting some food. So in that process, with the mobile market, we were able to create the voucher, which has been used greatly in this community and one other community, and it is part and part with their food banks. Food banks generally have food that is shelf stable, whereas folks don't get the fresh produce. And so it's ideal. They receive the voucher, it's valued at $10, and then they can go and purchase what they feel in a dignified way for their family, exactly what their family needs, what they actually eat. So there is no waste, and it is a win-win for everybody involved.
Okay, I have a few questions, Giselle, if you're done. Are you okay? You're done? Okay. So what is the approximate cost of the program on a yearly basis? Say, like, do you guys must have some kind of a budget you're aiming for?
Yes, so basically what ends up happening is, say if we were only going to one community.
Yeah.
If we were going to one community, it's $400 per week. But in the case of this particular corridor, we stop at multiple communities. So we would stop in Killarney, Alban, Noelville, St. Charles. So then that reduces to approximately $800 per week, which is then divided amongst the 4 areas, which
And
is
that
like, so-
covers the cost of
of
the
the-
employee, the truck, the food, everything?
Exactly. So, because the food, the people purchase the food. So, there is very little, extra money that has to go towards food unless there's a food waste. For example, if we were loading and the temperatures drop and, a case of pears freezes or more like berries, most likely was a little bit more of a sensitive kind of product. So then that would be waste, and there would be no way of recuperating those dollars. Or equally on the opposite side, in the heat of the summer, we try to maintain the proper temperatures to make sure that everything is good. But should there be any kind of potential hazard along the way, well, then we can't sell that food. So-
So where are you guys storing this food in between from week to week? Do you have a
We,
place run out of a
yeah.
building?
About 3 years ago, the student nutrition program received a grant from Agri-Food, and with that matching grant, we purchased a walk-in cooler. So we have a 24-foot fridge. And in the summer, it's ideal because the schools are not ordering food through that fridge, so it's full of market foods. So, and it also has an 8-foot freezer. So if ever we wanted to expand into freezer products, we also have many storage and much shelving, et cetera, for that. And then en route, it's coolers and so on. And sometimes we have to make multiple trips because, for example, in the summer, should we go to Killarney, very, very busy location. Alban is extremely busy. We have seen ourselves have to deploy 2 trucks so that the sellout, we can only fit so much food in a vehicle, and then we ship another truck out full of foods to be able to continue down the route.
Hey, that's interesting. And then you said public health, so I sit on that board, and I know a lot of their programs run through government funding. So is it because they're not applying for government funding for this exact program? Or like, because I don't ever recall in all my years of sitting on the board them talking about this program. So I'm wondering, is it just because they don't apply for it? or it's something that's not, you know what I mean? So
I'm not sure why public health, how that works at that level. I know that the funding that we receive is like through their programming dollars. So, they have programming dollars, like there was one year where we, focused on seniors and public health had a seniors fund. So we went to a senior community with the mobile market. And we were able to fund with that. So it was like a lot of piecemeal, right? So the public health funding has been summer. And communities don't want it to stop in September. They want to be able to have access all year, which is where we've been trying to extend where Manitoulin and Sudbury District Services Board has been coming in to be able to extend the season. But we definitely could not do all 13 locations. And also for fridge space, we have to consider in September, the schools take over some of the fridge space. But we do have space to continue with a couple of days a week of traveling as opposed to 4 days a week, which is what we do in the summertime. And so in the summertime, every day that the truck is gone to local. So the public health has been, when United Way funding fell, public health picked up for the summer market, because of the usage during the summer and the activity. Communities are the ones who have called and written. And so we have been doing everything we can, but we're piecing, we're getting like 1,000 here and $200. It's very, very challenging for staffing, to be able to tell the staff, well, we're going to be doing this from September to like, so you have a 1-year contract. It's like, well, we have this month. Oh, we got an extra 1,000. Okay, well, we can do another month or another couple of weeks. And then in the summer, it's full time. And in the winter, it drops to 1 day.
so you're
l-
roughly looking for $800 a week times 52
Yes.
around the program.
Divided amongst other communities.
Communities, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We currently do have a big proposal that's going through to the Trillium Foundation. We are extremely hopeful. We've received letters of support across all communities for this particular proposal. It is called a GROW grant, which is improving and or expanding current projects. We feel that our program fits directly within that goal of theirs. We're really hopeful, and that would definitely alleviate a big pressure. So when we think of the whole, that if we were to provide to all 13 communities extended services, extended hours, include things such as food literacy, include things such as technological advancements where they can do online ordering, all the dreams, that budget looks like $150,000 a year. However, that's not what we're asking from these communities. We want to at least get some service into the communities with whatever we can get.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's it. Oh, one more for Giselle.
So you know, the Lions have made a donations. I think they dropped it off. Was it dropped off here, Mark? I don't know.
I'll have to check with staff.
Okay, I think Ellen dropped it off, so I think they made a donation of $1,000.
That's excellent.
Tomorrow, that you are getting back together again for, I don't know for how long, but I know there's some money there, so I'll be putting a request in for some funding as well. The
Excellent.
family baseball tournament also is donating to good projects like this. And I think if there hasn't been an outreach to them, I think it'd be worth your while to go and
To reach
seek
out.
out.
That'd be excellent. Great.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Merci beaucoup et bonne soirée.
Thank
Good
you
luck.
very much. Okay, so we'll continue. We have a motion to bring this to our budget deliberation, so I need a mover and a seconder. So Counselor Roger and Counselor Dave.
Also agrees that the request for financial contribution to Good Food Markets.
Mike's not on.
Thank you. That the request for financial contribution to Good Food Markets be considered during the 2025 budget deliberations.
All those in favor? Okay, thank you. So we will continue on with 6.6 reports and items for consideration. 6.1, general government. 6.1.1, we have a resolution to adopt the fees and related charge bylaw. And I believe Mel would speak to this.
I will put my mic on. Thank you, Madam Chair. So as, okay, just a second. Okay. So the report is in the agenda, along with all the schedules that are being, with the proposed changes to the bylaw, there are some schedules that are not requiring any changes. So in my report, I've highlighted some of the changes. So the fees and related charges bylaw is a bylaw that contains, the overall fees and charges that the municipality charges for services, programs, activities, that we offer through the community. So under Schedule A, so there's about 8, 9 schedules. Under Schedule A for administrative services, we've just made mostly housekeeping changes. Example, for the OPP fee, it just reflects the fee that has been regulated through the final tax levy bylaw. We have analyzed the service for tax certificate fees. A slight increase is going to reflect the cost of providing that service. Under community services, every year we go through our fees and related charges bylaw, and we do a very small review. This year, we've did a major review on community services. There's a lot of fees that were either not being used or not used, or that were outdated. We did our annual review of 2% on certain fees. One other thing that I wanted to bring up or to highlight is the wedding. So through discussion, we are proposing a new wedding package fee for the Albion Community Center. That's where most weddings are held. It would just alleviate a lot of the questions or the rental fees that we have. So the wedding package would include like the day before, access to the hall, the day fee, SOCAN, kitchen, stuff like that. One other new change that we are proposing is to offer a nonprofit group rate for hall rentals, specifically Albion Community Center in Newellville. Those are the two only ones. With the proposal of quashing our grant and subsidy application. So you've noticed throughout the year that if a not-for-profit group wants to have a reduced fee for a hall, we have a policy that guides them on criteria or that they need to meet. And they need to fill out a form and come to council and apply for the reduced rate. And in the policy, there are limited to 1 request per year. So let's say that the rental fee is $400. The grant and subsidy allows them for a reduction of fee of $200. So they're still paying $200 for the fee for the hall, for example. So this proposal or this proposed new fee is to have, I think what we've done is, for example, if the rental fee is $300, we're proposing a half price fee for not-for-profit groups only. So we are reviewing, so in the report and at the last meeting, we did talk about a new parks and recreation facilities policy. So within that policy, we would outline the guidelines that are set out in the grants and subsidy policy. We would just change them. We would just reflect them in there. I think this would be, it would kind of streamline like the process, avoid having these groups having to fill out a form, apply. We know that volunteers are very scarce. It's just another time-consuming thing that they need to do, that we need to do, bring to council. So it would allow them to maybe use the facilities more often if they would have a reduced fee for, they're not limited to just once a year or whatever. So something to consider. So pretty much in the fees that I wanted to highlight for community services, in the Schedule E for environmental services, the fees that we have removed are the fees that are no longer, for services that are no longer being provided. Are there any questions on any other fees? Jason is here to answer any questions also for any changes or.
I just have one question. So community annual events. So
yes.
we have the baseball tournament that goes from 4,000 to 58 over 2 years. But then the hockey tournament goes from 5,000 to 52. So how do you justify the increase of one versus the other when one only goes up $200 and the other one's going up $1,800? Like it seems like a big gap. So can you explain?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. The family baseball and family hockey tournament are two different tournaments, and the facility is the whole entire arena for family baseball as well as the whole entire sports fields. And staffing, the hockey tournament is just the arena and the times that the arena is there, right? The difference of the family baseball tournament is porta potties outside, extra staffing for outside stuff, more janitor supplies for outdoor bathrooms as well as porta potties as well as the indoor bathrooms.
Is it because their cost right now is low and you're just trying to catch up? Like, cause I
Correct.
see like it's only 4,000 for next year.
Correct.
And where hockey's always paid more than. Okay, I understand it. There was a big gap there and I just trying to catch up. Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, seeing none, I need a mover and a seconder to adopt the changes in the fees. We have a resolution. Counselor Dean and Counselor Willie.
Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-45, being a bylaw to set fees and related charges set out by council, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
All those in favor? Okay, we'll continue on to 6.1.2. We have a resolution to squash the volunteer recognition policy. I need a mover and a seconder. Counselor Dave and Counselor Will. So do you want to speak to that just briefly?
I can explain.
Yeah.
So at the last meeting, I did I proposed this to council. So this policy was enacted in 2019 with it worked out well that year. So it allowed groups and organizations to nominate someone from their group to be nominated for certain categories to be recognized for volunteering during the year. So we had like a cultural criteria or category, education, similar to that. And after COVID, the event was not held for maybe 1 or 2 years. And then we decided to honor all our volunteers throughout the community. And that has been received very well from council, from the community. It's been 2 years now that we haven't used the policy. And I think it's a good idea to continue that way.
Do you want to read your resolution?
Be resolved that council, sorry, I'm going to restart. That the volunteer recognition policy adopted October 16, 2019 be rescinded.
All those in favor? Okay, thank you. We'll continue on to 6.2, finances. 6.2.1, we have the quarterly report for the third quarter report, and we have Mark Cleary, our treasurer, that'll speak to this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For quarterly activities and statistics for third quarter, which is from July to September. Final tax billing was done in the final week of July as planned, so no hiccups with the system this year. With payment due dates of August 28th and September 25th, 2024. Also, MPAC, with the assistance of the municipality, reviewed the assessment of all vacant properties in the municipality. actually 14 properties were found to have structures previously omitted from assessment. So impact made the corrections, which resulted in an increase in the assessment of $1.6 million, which resulted in supplemental tax bills of $48,000 this year. The asset management policy has been updated as part of its 5-year regulatory review process, and the asset management plan will be updated during the fourth quarter. Will be presented to council next council meeting for approval, review and approval. And we have also started tax sale proceedings on 3 properties by registering a tax arrear certificate on title of the property. So the owners and interested parties have 1 year to redeem the property by paying the full cancellation price. This is an annual event. If there's any properties that are over 2 years in arrears. Any questions?
You said that the property owners have a full year?
Yes. Once
To-
we
to
register a
pay.
tax arrear
Yeah.
certificate, they have 1 year to pay the cancellation price so that it doesn't get sold as a public auction or a public tender.
Does anybody, Giselle?
So once it's registered and they do pay their taxes, they pay the administrative fees that go with it because it costs money to register
Yes,
it.
the cancellation price includes all fees, the registering fees, the legal fees, all those fees, yes. And it can amount to $4,000 to $5,000 extra.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
I believe if we have no other questions, we'll continue on. So 6.2, we have a resolution to authorize a funding application to the Ontario Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund for the rehabilitation of the French River wastewater system. And I need a mover and a seconder. So Councillor Dave and Councillor Dean. And Mark, would you speak to this just fast?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Which Mark would you be referring to? If council recalls, back in the spring, we submitted a similar application under intake 1, and we were not successful, as was mostly all Northern Ontario small rural municipalities. During the AMO conference, they reintroduced a second intake. All those who receive funding under the first intake do not qualify to apply for the second intake. We've been working with Kevin's department along with Aqua and are resubmitting an application for just over $1 million. It's 73% funding if we're successful. And our share of the project would be about $281,000. We're looking at doing is rather than build new infrastructure, expand new infrastructure, which is extremely costly. I think we're more prudent to rehabilitate our current infrastructure and trying to create additional capacity. And we've projected by doing this project and implementing the septic station at the lagoons to receive septic as well, that we're able to create an additional 309 housing units within the community, within our existing system. We will also be looking at seepage and infiltration issues. We just recently completed a full cammering of our whole line systems, identified approximately 15 manholes that need to be addressed to prevent the infiltration of water during storm events that contribute to the capacity of our lagoon system. And there's also some upgrades to our lift stations and electrical systems that are beginning to be outdated. And then also the backup generator, which is dated as well, which we cannot get any replacement parts for anymore. Basically, in a crunch, that's the application that we're putting into the system. If you recall during the budget process, during our capital projects, and I think Mark reported on it within the reports that you have, we had identified projects of this nature to be included of an equivalent of 210,000. We will not be spending that money. It'll be pushed into 2020 2025 in hopes of receiving this funding. And currently our capital reserves for the sanitary sewer reserves, which our contribution will come from, will be hovering around 675,000 by the end of 2024. So we have the capacity for our share of the funds, and hopefully we're successful this time.
Okay, thank you. So I believe Mel has the resolution.
Be it resolved that council authorizes the funding application to the Ontario Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund, second intake for the rehabilitation of the French River Wastewater System Project for an amount of $1,043,750. And further that the sum of $281,812.50, which represents 27% of the Ontario Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund, be committed to this project by the municipality and resolves to cover any project-related cost overruns should they be incurred.
All those in favor? Okay, thank you. 6.3, Public Works and Environmental Services. 6.3.1, we have Martin with the quarterly report.
Thank you, everyone. Through you, Madam Chair. Just a quick overview of the last quarter. Not too much out of the ordinary. Request for services at normal. The only anomaly that we really had was we had an intake, lots of new 911 numbers. Most of them were for the farm program, the Emily project. So most of them were farm entrances. So we didn't actually get 12 new properties. I think we got like, I don't know, 3 or 4 new properties. The rest were all pre-existing vacant farmland. Summer operations, lots of culverts replaced, through contractors, and lots of beaver dam removals. Beavers were very active this past summer. Couple of key highlights: the Delamere Road project was also completed, and that's everything, unless anybody else has any questions about anything.
No, seeing none. Okay, I think we are good. Thank you, Martin. 6.3.2, we have a quarterly report from Kevin.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Gonna go through a little bit of the stats just to point out, we're still at 0% contamination for our recycling program, which is a big plus from last year. And our tonnage is going up with clean recycling going to our facility in North Bay. So this fall, we had our household hazardous waste event on the 21st. We had 240 residents come in that day. Food cycler report was presented to council and survey to gauge interest presented to the public. I think within the first like 6 hours, we had over 100. So I know that's the number we were hitting, so we're well above it. You'll see a report coming shortly for that. And our environmental assessment comments from the MOEC came back, and we're working with EXP, our engineering firm, to address all our comments, all their comments for our expansion at the landfill site.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? No, seeing none. All right, we'll continue on. 6.4, Recreation and Community Services nil. 6.5, Emergency and Protection Services nil. 6.6, Building Planning and Development are nil. 7, Correspondence. We have a request to support the town of Aurora. We have a motion to advocate for a fair share of funding from both the provincial and the federal governments. The request is in there, and there is the motion. So I need a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Dave and Councillor Willie. And I guess we'll just get Mel to read the resolution if nobody has any questions.
It's a long one. The
Do you-
motion is in the agenda package.
Yeah, the motion's in the
Council is
agenda
comfortable.
package. We're not gonna make you read all that.
If council is comfortable with me not reading it.
Everybody comfortable with that? Yeah.
Okay, we'll let this one
And-
go for today, But the resolution is there. It is in the package.
That's right.
Everybody has read it and we are all in favor of accepting it. So all those in favor? Okay, we're good. So we'll continue on to 6.2. We have a request for support, Better Beginnings, Better Future. Letter to support their application to the Grow Grant for Good Food Markets. So we need a mover and a seconder for that. They asked us to write a letter in support of their application. Yeah, so I need a mover and a seconder, Counselor Roger and Mayor Pajot.
Be resolved, the council agrees to issue a letter of support to Better Beginnings, Better Futures for their funding application to the Grow Grant for Good Food Markets.
All those in favor? Okay, we'll continue on to 6.3, request for financial contribution to the Christmas baskets. The annual budgeted amount is $500. We need a mover and a seconder for this. Counselor Willie and Counselor Roger.
Be it resolved that council agrees to the annual donation of $500 towards the Comité de Peña Noel for Christmas food baskets.
All those in favor? Good. So we have the consent agenda. I need a mover and a seconder for this. Counselor Dave and Counselor Dean.
Council approves the items of the consent agenda under section 8.1 and receives the items under sections 8.2 and 8.3.
All those in favor? Good. We have no items separated. We have no notices of motion. Announcements. So I guess we could start with Roger.
I'd like to say that thanks to, or send a very big thanks to the Trading Post Restaurant for the food that they gave us just in the past week. And not only for the past week, they support us, they support the food bank every year. But this year was unbelievable, the amount of food they gave us. So again, from the community and the council, thank you very much. So.
Thank you. Counselor Will? Really?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Mayor Pajot?
Just want to remind council that on November 11th, we have the Remembrance Day ceremonies at the Cenotaph. So I hope to see all of you there. On November 30th, the holiday train will be here and it'll be here around 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock train time, so that could be anywhere between 7, quarter to 8. So hoping to see a lot of people there. And then December 14th, and this goes out to Councillor Bob, the Santa Claus parade over at Chateau Lumber will be held. And again, I wanted to say thank you to the Trading Post. The food was outstanding. The freezers are all full. The fridges are full. It's never seen it so full. So.
Thank you. Counselor Dean?
I don't have much of anything to say except I want to ask. So I think we should send a letter to the Trading Post, a formal
did.
letter
I,
from council.
oh, forgot. Sure, I'll write it.
Okay. There's something else I was going to ask, but now I can't recall. That's all. Go ahead.
So Dave?
I don't have anything to add, thank you.
Okay, so I will go ahead until Dean remembers what he wanted to ask. So as Giselle mentioned, November 30th is the holiday train at 7 o'clock. I believe that the Lions have offered to help Dennis with collecting the canned goods and stuff. And I know that they are organizing, looking at organizing some buses. So from Noelville and from Albin area. So stay tuned and look on our Facebook page for any updates about that. We had a recreation community meeting yesterday. It went very well. We discussed on projects that happened this year and what we are going to keep for next year. So I think there was good talks. So that was good. We did talk about having a tree lighting ceremony and we're gonna look at that and we're looking at a tentative date of December 6th, which is a Friday night, around 6 o'clock perhaps. So we're gonna have a poster and keep everybody in the loop for that. We also talked about, there'll be some public skating before the Christmas parade as done in the past for the kids, with some hot dogs and that. We just need to confirm the little things in between there. And, I believe, that's it for November-ish, beginning of December. But we have another meeting prior to that, so we can update everybody on the final things. So, and I believe Dean remembers.
What I was gonna ask is simply, ceremonies at on the 11th or at 11, as in time, what's the timing on it?
Well, the ceremonies usually start at 11, so they ask people to be there before 11.
Okay.
So that 10:30, yes. Arrive at 10:30, okay.
Okay, good, that's all I had. I don't know why I asked, I should remember.
I think it's good to mention also that we have the high school will have a vendors market, mid-month. And then the weekend of the 20-something, there's one at the gallery also. And then there's gonna be the church bingo. So there's a lot of stuff happening in the next month and a half prior to Christmas. So and the Rapids are playing, and I know that they had a Veterans Night last Saturday night in recognition for the veterans, which was really nice. So I believe that's it for me. So staff is good. And we have no closed session. And we have a resolution to adopt the confirmation bylaw. I need a mover and a seconder. Counselor Dean and Counselor Dave. And I need a resolution to adjourn. Counselor Roger and Counselor Willie. And thank you for staying with us tonight, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.